What is up everyone, welcome back to a brand new video on Lex Alexis. Today we're actually going to start content of the 22-23 championship season. And what better way to start with predictions, because we all love to do predictions these days. But I'm not going to do these predictions, it is going to be in the hands of FIFA 22. Now I am not expecting these predictions to be completely accurate. They're still going to keep many of the squads that we currently have in the end of this season. You know, it's not taking in mind financial troubles, it's not taking in mind any potential embargoes teams can have, it's not taking into account players that can go and players that will join. You know, it's all going to be simulated with those teams. Now, I've decided to pick Burnley as my team. I mean, the reason why, I didn't really have much of a reason apart from the fact they've been the absolute bane of my existence in my career modes. If you know, you know. So I'm going to be Burnley and I'm going to simulate Burnley till the end of the season. We're also going to keep our eyes on the Premier League and also on League One as well, because the Premier League and League One, it's also changed accordingly to the 22-23 standards. So we should see the likes of Fulham, as you can see here, Nottingham Forest, as you can see as well, and we should also see Bournemouth near the top here for the Premier League. And for League One, we should see Barnsley, there they are, and we should also see Derby there, and then we're going to see the likes of Peterborough down there. I've not updated all of it, so for instance, Gillingham still in League One, all of that. I just basically want to see how the teams in the Championship in last season, you know, are going to perform. So I've decided not to make it completely accurate to the 22-23 season, but I've done what I can with the time given. If you guys like what you see, please give the video a like, it just really helps the channel. Please do hit the subscribe button if you've not done so, it really helps the growth of this channel, and please share this channel as well. All of that really helps, it makes sure that newer viewers will be able to find me a lot more easily, and the meals will grow together as a community. That would really help. But without any further ado, let's see how the 22-23 season is going to pan out according to FIFA. So to find out what's going to happen, I'm going to do the beauty of simulating the season. I'm also going to quickly check to see what the opening games are. So as you can see here, you've got West Brom there. You have got Watford in that position as well. Now, it could be because maybe I swapped out the likes of Bournemouth there. But potentially, Burnley's just having the equivalent of what Bournemouth's fixtures were. So there's not much malice there, but just to remind you, and let's look at the end of the season and see who they would have had to face. Yeah, Millwall. So it's definitely going to be Bournemouth's fixtures given to Burnley there. But what would have been very interesting is, look at this, two Lancashire derbies in a row near the end of the season for Burnley. So that should make things rather interesting at least. So what we're going to do, as I said, we're going to simulate all the way to the middle of June, because by that time the playoffs should also be finished as well. So we're going to see which three teams FIFA is predicted to go out from the Championship, and how the three newly promoted teams are going to be like in the Premier League, and how the three recently relegated teams from last season are going to perform in League One. I'm going to simulate right around 15th of June, I think. And there you go, the simulation has started. I'll see you guys when the simulation is over. So guys, we're back. The simulation is finally over. 15th of June. I've not been sacked, which is a decent sign at least. I think with the wins that I saw, I think Burnley did quite well. So let's see. Moment of truth. Now, oh my goodness me. Let's look at this here. Burnley win with 104 points. 2 points off Reading's record. QPR promoted with 80 points in second place. So Michael Beale gets QPR promoted to the Premier League. Now that's incredible. So I think Burnley first is a little bit of a shock for me. I mean, clearly they're looking at the squad. I think the squad they currently got is way too good to be in the Championship, but they are going to lose some players. Weghorst says he's already going to leave. Pope will get interest. Ben Mee and Tarkowski look like they're going to leave. Cornet will get some interest. It looks like he's leaving as well. So I think Burnley are really going to struggle next year. But with the squad, if they actually keep a good part of the youth side of it, the likes of Taylor, and if they keep their experience like Josh Brownhill in that midfield, it could potentially be a really good squad in the Championship. But I just think it's going to be definitely a roller coaster ride for Burnley this year. QPR second. Now that's a really big surprise. That is a good 9-place improvement for them. And Michael Beale, I think, will be one of those managers which, you know, obviously will promise a lot. I think what QPR will have next year will be a bit similar to Swansea, The team not quite performing well in terms of the standard and the style at the start, but give them more games and they'll start getting used to how Michael Beale likes to play. So I don't think QPR will finish that high, but it's great to see them back into the Premier League. So for the top 6, we've got Middlesbrough, Millwall, Huddersfield and Sheffield United. Now, Middlesbrough third. I definitely think Middlesbrough next year are going to be a dark horse. With Chris Wilder now fully in charge, he'll have his first full season with them, with transfers going in. I think the squad as a whole is looking very promising. Millwall fourth is a very interesting prediction because Millwall have never really been in the top 6 at all. They've been in the conversation a bit plenty of times, but they've never really been able to take that extra step to get there. It'll be nice to see them into the top 6. It'll show some definite progress, and Gary Rowell would have been heavily praised for getting them there. Huddersfield fifth. Now that is an interesting call because I think Huddersfield next year are going to be one of the teams that's going to be incredibly impossible to predict. There'll be some teams or some predictors that will think, okay, they're going to bounce back and do really, really well next year. And there will some that will predict that Huddersfield will drop down. In terms of teams losing in the playoff final, it is really touch and go for what you do. Brentford for a start, they managed to get to another one when they lost out and they won it. And Reading, when they lost out to the playoff final, funnily enough, to Huddersfield, they had, a good number of years of having a couple of tumultuous seasons. So it is very, very possible that Huddersfield could have one of those seasons, but it's so difficult. I'm kind of on the fence. I don't really know what Huddersfield are going to do next year. I'm still going to hold my judgment. They've got Boyle back. He was on loan to Cheltenham from Huddersfield, so I'm happy for him that he's going to potentially get some more game time with Huddersfield now. And Sheffield United 6th. I definitely think Sheffield United will definitely want to get top 6 at least, and I definitely think they will be in that conversation. So I think that's a decent shout for FIFA 22 there. If we're going to cover the rest of the top half, so Coventry 7th. Now that is a great improvement for Coventry if they can get into 7th place. They finished 12th, and I've got to say, I think based on the expectation, I think in general 7th place is whereabouts Coventry fans would expect them to finish at this moment of time. They've definitely been positively improving that, right on having some progression there. It's just, are they going to have enough to break into that top 6? It's not easy to do, and you need a lot of form, and you need a lot of teams dropping points, to go your way. So a lot of luck is needed, but that is a very interesting shout. Blackburn 8th, which I think is interesting. I don't even know who their manager is going to be at the moment. Duncan Ferguson currently the favourite, and with the Lancashire clubs, they've also got Burnley. They've got Vincent Kompany there. So at least with those two Lancashire clubs, they've got a strategy, and it looks like that they've got a clean favourite. Whether that both of them will be the first team manager in the next couple of weeks or so, we'll have to wait and find out. We're going to have to wait and see what the news says. But that's interesting. That tells me that he probably kept a couple of their players that were linked away. I think BBD is going to be very, very heavily linked. Rothwell's already looking like he's going. Kaminsky's going to be heavily linked. Dolan's going to be linked. A lot of players are going to be linked for Blackburn because they show some great promise, but they've matched their exact same place from last year. And honestly, I think they'll take that. West Brom 9th is interesting. It's almost matching their same place as well. And Steve Bruce would have been looking at this season being the season that they can really try and get back to the Premier League. He's been given that expectation, and for the fact that West Brom would finish 2 consecutive seasons outside of the top 6 and in the Championship, that's not good enough for West Brom standards. So not a great position there, despite it being an improvement for what has been an awful season for West Brom. And Norwich 10th. Now, out of all of the teams, I did not expect to see Norwich finish this low. And I've not seen Watford yet, it's just clocked on me. So Burnley by far out of the 3 recently relegated teams performing the best. Norwich 10th. Now, I can't believe they're this low. I can't believe it. Guys, let me know what you think of that. I mean, personally, I think Norwich will definitely be a little bit exposed with the fact they've not got Daniel Farke anymore. He's obviously joined Borussia Mönchengladbach recently. They've got Dean Smith in charge, where he has got experience getting teams out of the Championship before. He did it with Aston Villa, of course. So he's definitely capable to get Norwich out of it. And if they keep a lot of their squad players together, they really should continue to do what Norwich do, which is just to yo-yo back straight to the Premier League. So I'm a bit surprised about that. So let's go down one prediction and space at a time. 11th place Cardiff. Interesting and a small improvement there. But personally, with what I've seen with Steve Morrison, I just don't think Cardiff will finish anywhere near that prediction. But I could completely be wrong with that. For what I know, maybe in this game they probably sacked him and got someone else in maybe. 12th place Watford. Now that is a shocking prediction. I did not expect to see Watford to finish this low. this is almost as worse. Yeah, it is worse than West Brom's 10th place debut season back. Year 1 parachute payment to finish in 12th place is unacceptable, in the stretch of the imagination. They've got Rob Edwards now in charge of them, obviously with a bit of a controversy there, getting him from Forest Green. I think he's an exciting manager, and I definitely think will bring a good character into the Championship, but he's a little bit of an unknown whether he can manage at this level for me, so maybe that's part of the reason with that, but I didn't expect Watford to finish this low. 13th, they predicted Preston, so pretty much a typical Preston finish with Ryan Lowe, really. You can definitely stabilise things at Preston, but Preston would want to try and progress from where they have finished last year. This is pretty much the same exact position they did finish from last season, so maybe a couple of mixed emotions if Preston finish in 13th place for Preston fans. 14th, Luton. Now, Luton, I think, will go on a small drop-off. I think it's going to be very difficult for them to even match or improve for what they have been. We've never really seen Luton regress, though, so that's going to be a very, very interesting predicament that Luton will find themselves in. They've now got expectation to deal with, and obviously Barnsley didn't really cope with that expectation all that well the season after. I think Luton are experienced enough that they can deal with it, but if they do regress down to the likes of 44 in the lower mid-table position, they've got to make sure they move on from that, because there's no disrespect with them with that. Their budget is just not at the level of most of the teams in the Championship, and in all honesty, I think 14th place is still a very respectable season considering for Luton Town, but the problem is now they've got expectations to deal with, so it could definitely be a bit of a curse for them, but if they can manage it, then they'll be going places. 15th place is Blackpool. Now, that's interesting for me, because Blackpool right now, I do think will be struggling for the fact they've lost Critchley, who's been a safe pair of hands for Blackpool since he came in, and I spoke about it in my transfer show. You got a team struggling with confidence in the middle part of League One, and within his first full season gets them promoted out of League One, and in his second full season gets them finishing very comfortably in the Championship. So Blackpool need to get this manager decision right, and I was talking about teams in Lancashire getting a clear target for their replacement for a manager. For Blackpool, I've not heard anyone. If you've got any Blackpool viewers, if you have been linked with any managers, do let me know who in the comments down below. It could be something I could touch upon in my next transfer show, because for what I've seen so far, I've not heard of any links to take over as Blackpool boss, which is disappointing me at this moment of time. So Blackpool 15th, it's a slight improvement actually for what they have finished with. It's 63 points as well, so it's a 3-point improvement as well. So I don't know about that with FIFA. I think FIFA may have got that one slightly wrong. 16th, they've gone for Reading. Now, I think Reading will finish 16th at highest, really. I think with Paul Ince in charge, I'm still not too sure about him. They've already lost John Swift, for how good he was at the start of the season. I definitely think that's going to make things really, really tough for them as well. So I think Reading will be a team in trouble if they don't get a good amount of recruitment in. Their squad is bare thin, and they really need to improve that depth. 17th place, they've gone for Birmingham, which I think is a typical finish for Birmingham, really. If anything, 17th is actually probably quite a big and high finish compared to what they were doing in recent years, which for that to be a good finish now for Birmingham fans would be really, really upset with that and depressed with that, and I don't blame them. Their club's been run down to the ground, and I really hope that we see a good future with Birmingham. I really, really do. I do feel really sorry for their fans. 18th is Stoke. Now, that is a shambolic finish. That's their lowest finish ever in the Championship in recent years. And closer to relegation than top 6 is just ultimately not the answer for Stoke at all. I wouldn't have been surprised if they had finished this level, they would have sacked Michael O'Neill by now, because he has been given a couple of question marks recently with the squad he's got at his disposal. Maybe a good amount of that Stoke squad has already left to join other clubs. I don't know, but to have 19 defeats for Stoke is just not good enough, isn't it? 19th is Bristol City, which is typically a finish you see with Bristol City these days. That's a real shame, though, because obviously they've had their small period with Lee Johnson where they were pushing for top 6, and since then they've really regressed, and they've not really recovered since. I mean, they've not regressed as much for them to be relegated, but if they're not careful and if they sleepwalk into this comfortable position, then they will eventually get pulled into the relegation picture, and they can't afford that. I think Bristol City do have some promising players in that squad. I do think if they do finish down there again, I think question marks will be asked with Nigel Pearson. It's just dawned on me, we've not seen a single newly promoted team from League One yet. I really hope we don't see a scenario where all 3 of them are relegated. 20th is Hull, still known on the newly promoted team so far. So Hull finishing in 20th place. It's a small, drop for what they have done last season. I definitely think Hull, I think, will be a really tough team to predict as well, alongside with Huddersfield, obviously with the developments they got with their ownership. I definitely think it's going to be a really interesting season to see who they can bring in. They're linked with so many players, Hull. It's going to be interesting to see what sort of squad they're going to go down, in the next season with. But 20th place is a bit surprising for me. I'm a bit shocked that they finished this low down. Now, I'm just trying to think of all the teams we've not seen yet. We've not seen Swansea so far. I've just remembered that. So Swansea and the 3 recently promoted teams we've not seen yet. So is it going to be a trio of newly promoted teams going down? The moment of truth is now. Yes, it is, because Swansea have finished in 21st. There you go. So FIFA has predicted the 3 recently promoted teams to go straight back down, sadly for them. So look at that. Swansea on 43 points there. Wigan on 40. Rotherham with 37. And Sunderland with 24. Now that is poor. Swansea 21st is quite poor for them as well. It's clear that if they stuck with Russell Martin, then according to FIFA, they're not going to have a really good time with him there. But that's a real shock for me. Sunderland to finish with this many points. Only 3 wins all season. I think Sunderland, considering the squad they've got and the manager they got in Alex Neil, I actually think they could potentially have not necessarily a really comfortable season, but I definitely think they'll have a decent competing season. I definitely think if I were to predict them right now, I probably would put Sunderland around where Hull finished this year, 19th place. And potentially Wigan as well. I do think Wigan will be a decentish team, with the players they've got. It's Rotherham who I'm a bit worried about because they have already lost a couple of their key players. And they have been traditionally mentally be going up and down and just yo-yoing between Championship and League One. And a lot of the time that Rotherham do get quite close to survive. But, obviously the last time they did take the relegation to the final day of the season. But ultimately they've just got this nagging mindset that they just keep getting yo-yoing between the 2 leagues. And personally, I think Rotherham is the team I've got less faith compared to the other 2 so far. But yeah, that is what the Championship table will look like according to FIFA 22 in terms of the 22-23 season. Let's see who won the playoffs. So the teams in the playoffs are Millwall, Middlesbrough, Huddersfield and Sheffield United. Could you imagine it's Millwall? Let's find out. Moment of truth now. Who's going to join Burnley and QPR to the Premier League? Sheffield United. So Huddersfield lose back-to-back playoff finals. Now that is something that's going to be very hard to take for them. So the semi-finals, it ended 2-0 in aggregate for Sheffield United against Middlesbrough. Huddersfield edge out with Millwall there. Very close game actually. So Millwall gave one hell of a fight. But in the final, it was 2-1 to Sheffield United. So they will be joining Burnley and QPR in the Premier League. So finally, to end off this video, let's actually see how everyone else has done. So Premier League, we're going to be looking for Bournemouth, Fulham and Forest. None of them there so far. Let's keep scrolling down and hopefully we can see a couple. Fulham, 14th. Look at that. So Fulham finishing in 14th. That's a decent finish for them there. They'll take Premier League survival in a heartbeat. We've not seen... Okay, I was going to say we've not seen Bournemouth, and now we've seen Bournemouth. 16th place now. 36 points. So we're already going under a point per game territory now. So clearly the bottom 3 didn't get a load of points. No Nottingham Forest so far. Is Nottingham Forest going to survive? Moment of truth. No, it's Crystal Palace who survive on 17th place. Oh, look at this. Nottingham Forest and Crystal Palace, look at them. Forest were down on goal difference. Now that is devastating for them. Southampton and Brentford surprisingly go down with them there. But Nottingham Forest to go down on goal difference with their first season back in the Premier League in the 21st century actually. That's a really tough way to go. I feel really sad for them there. I hope it doesn't end like that because that would be a really devastating end for them. Now League One, so we're looking for Barnsley, Peterborough and Derby. As you can see, Ipswich, who I'll probably be seeing a lot more of this year, finished in first place. Barnsley in second place with 79 points. No Peterborough Derby to be seen at this moment in time. Look at that, Morecambe in 8th place. That's a surprise. Let's scroll down. And there's Peterborough, 10th place finish, just below Sheffield Wednesday. And there's Derby. So Peterborough and Derby finished pretty much right next to each other. Same amount of points, but Derby with a worse goal difference. I'm surprised with that because I personally think Peterborough with their squad, they've got the best squad out for 3, so I think they'll do okay. Derby, I think, in general, if they get the ownership thing sorted, I think they'll be okay. it's Barnsley who I'm a little bit worried about, because the way that they actually approached the championship was really, really poor, really. And I'm not too sure who they're going to get as a manager. They've not confirmed who they're going to take over yet. And at least with Derby and Peterborough, they know who they're going to have, in their season. So right now, I've got a bit more confidence with Peterborough and Derby. I mean, Derby have not been in the League One for a long, long time, over 35 years. And Peterborough, typically, when they do get relegated, they don't really bounce back up. When they were last relegated from the Championship, they had 10 consecutive years in here. So maybe that's why FIFA thought that Barnsley, who typically, when they do go down, they do bounce back up pretty quickly. That's probably why they predicted Barnsley to get promoted. But personally, with the squad, I don't see it at the moment. So guys, that is FIFA 22's predictions. So, teams going up: Burnley, QPR, and Sheffield United. The 3 teams going down are the 3 recently promoted teams in Sunderland, Rotherham and Wigan. But as I said, I don't think that's going to be entirely accurate. They're still keeping the squads from this year. They've not made changes with transfers and all of that. So, that is the best FIFA can do to predict this current 22-23 season. I tell you what, this is making me really, really excited for this season now. So guys, if you like what you see, please give the video a like. It just tremendously up the channel. Please do hit the subscribe button if you're not done so, just really help us all. And please share this channel as well. All of that helps too. But that will wrap it up. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are legendary for so many in this video. As always, I'll see you guys soon. Take care, everyone.